Lexi hissed to Bella, her eyes wide. She listened intently at the darkness. Her senses came alive in the vast Australian night. "He's coming," she whispered, willing her sister to be quiet. Bella made to speak, although her mouth was full of Teddy. Her eyes shined like glittering quartz, and Bella looked to Lexi for what to do next. Lexi raised her finger to her lips, and they dipped into a crouch near the bushes, waiting. Dusk gathered quickly in the garden. The last fading shafts of sunlight danced around the tops of the surrounding buildings. But down here in the undergrowth, darker, dangerous things were afoot. The musty, sweet smell of flowers did nothing to deter him. The animal wanted his dinner, and nothing was going to stop him this time. The creature crept stealthily along the edge of the darkening swimming pool, his black, piercing eyes pinned on his prey. He moved one clawed foot at a time, placing each pad down with mathematical precision. His shoulders lifted and fell with each silent step, and his neck strained to get his head closer to the juicy prize. Lexi held her breath, clutched firmly to her little sister. Bella's eyes were as wide as saucers, watching the seasoned predator inch closer and closer. Bright green leaves faded with the sunset. Cicadas chirruped in the bushes, singing a brisk evening song, but one by one even they fell silent as he passed by. "Here he comes," Lexi mouthed, her eyes on the menacing, toothy mouth that approached. Her fingers curled ever more firmly around Bella's t-shirt. Bella grimaced. Suddenly, he pounced. Gruff! The noise was sudden and loud. Bella screamed in shock. Lexi sucked in her breath with a squeak. Gus barked again as he launched his front paws off the decking and threw himself at the lizard, which was sunbaking in the last of the day's heat. The lizard raced off like a lightning bolt into the bushes so fast that both girls lost sight of him immediately. Gus followed in his bounding gait, ears up, eyes wide, trying to seek out his lost snack. Why did all his expeditions end up this way? Bella squealed with delight, standing up to get a better view of her dog as he hunted the strange creatures. She jumped up and down on the spot, squeaking with joy. "Gus missed again!" she cried, giggling, throwing Teddy in the air. "Stupid dog," Lexi laughed, clapping her hands. Gus buried himself in the bushes up to his tail, which wagged flowers and leaves from side to side. The girls could hear him snuffling and snorting, trying to find the lost lizard trail. "Girls, dinner," their father called. They raced up the steps, Gus in tow. Saturday night dinner was always barbecue on the balcony, and they munched happily as Gus begged for food. He was so much happier now that he was allowed to roam freely. "What did you and Alicia do today?" her mother asked. "Went to the beach with everyone else," Lexi shrugged. "And what did you do there?" "Not much. Played about in the sand. The surf rescue were doing their drills. We watched that for a bit. Climbed the rocks. You know." "Did you go in the water?" Lexi felt her mother's eyes on her. "No. Well, paddling," she replied, but swallowed. Lies which used to come so easily to her were suddenly catching in her throat. Yes, she had actually been surfing. Yes, Alicia was still actually teaching her. Lexi changed the subject as fast as she could. "Gus nearly got the lizard tonight," she beamed, and her dad laughed. "Clever boy," he said, as Lexi quickly returned to eating her burger. Every Saturday, Lexi raced to Alicia's house, and the girls jumped down through the rocks behind Alicia's back garden onto the beach there. It was far away from the main beach and often deserted. Not even Alicia's dad could see them from the house. The waves crashed onto the sand and left foamy blankets where the two girls practiced their stances and balance in secret. In the water, Alicia called instructions and they both paddled in and surfed out, wave after wave after wave. Lexi learned fast. All those years of horse riding had given her good balance, and years of swimming meant that she was able to keep calm when she fell in, which happened a lot. She loved the feeling of the wind and spray in her hair, and for the first time since she arrived, she felt she had friends and a life once more. But in place of the sadness Lexi felt, the lies building once more, just like they used to. If only Mum and Dad could understand how much better she felt now. They'd just understand. If she could just get good enough at surfing, she'd show them how safe she was and how happy it made her, and then they'd let her carry on. She vowed to be the best surfer she could be, then tell them, and then the lies could all stop. It was simple, wasn't it? One thing they could all agree on, though, was that family time at the beach was great fun. As the adults sat with coffee and picnics, Lexi, Bella and Jude played in the sand, joined by friends from school. There was always someone to play with on the beach. Bella particularly enjoyed sandcastle making, much to the delight of Dad and Uncle Rory. They were all digging and sloshing buckets of water one Sunday afternoon when Alicia raced up to join them. "Hi Lexi," she called, waving. "Hi Bella, hi Jude." "Join in, Alicia," said Duncan. "It's going to be an epic castle, this one." "Oh, thanks, yeah, but I need to talk to Lexi," she said, and grabbed Lexi by the sleeve to drag her away. "What's the matter?" Lexi asked when they were out of earshot of the rest of the family. "I've got something to show you," Alicia hissed and ran faster. Lexi followed, now intrigued. At the Lifesavers Club, Alicia raced through the cafe into the changing areas. "What's going on?" Lexi cried. "Look!" Alicia stopped by the notice board and pointed to a sign-up sheet. "A surfing competition on the beach here in a few weeks' time." Lexi peered at it. There was a beginner's class. "You have to sign up, Lex," Alicia pleaded. Lexi looked at it again. Alicia had signed up in a different class. "Please," she continued, "you have to. We can do it together." "I don't know. I'm not supposed to be surfing anyway," she said. "But you're really good now," said Alicia, "and you can show them you're safe. They might let you join the surf rescue club with me, and it won't have to be a big secret anymore." Lexi stuck a finger in her mouth, thinking. "Okay," she said, biting a nail. "I'll do it." For 2 weeks after, Lexi could barely sleep. She said she was doing a big project at school with Alicia so that she could go round to her house most evenings to work on it. Instead, once there, they whooped off down the rocks to the beach and surfed for an hour until the sun went down. When she returned home a little bedraggled, Lexi explained the project was about the seashore and they needed to gather shells and driftwood. Lexi gritted her teeth every time she lied. It would all be worth it, she told herself, once they realised how good she was and how safe it was. One Saturday morning, as she paddled out and sat on her board watching the swelling sea, Lexi happened to look down, and she saw a dark shadow underneath her board. It swam lazily for a while in big circles, but eventually it swam away. Lexi sat as still as possible on her board, and she held her breath. "You okay, Lex?" Alicia called from her board. "Yeah, I just thought Oh, it's okay. Let's go." She shook her head, turned and faced the beach. Behind her, the sea bulged into a wave and pushed them both along. Lexi jumped up and caught it fast, her arms outstretched, her knees bent. The water sluiced her face and she wiped her eyes and spat out the salty taste. As she blinked the water away, she caught sight of the beach. 2 people walked there, and Lexi rubbed her eyes again. She recognised them. The man had his arm shielding his eyes, and he held the hand of a small child who pointed out at the sea. pointed at Lexi. It was Uncle Rory and Jude. She had been caught. Lexi gasped and fell into the wave, and as the bubbles surrounded her and the swirling noise filled her ears, the board toppled on top of her, and she knew this was probably the last time she would ever surf. "What were you thinking?" her mother yelled at the top of her voice. "No, you weren't thinking, and you lied to us." Lexi stood with her head down in the kitchen. Uncle Rory and Dad sat at the table and watched as her mum fumed. Bella and Jude were in the pool. "How can I keep you safe when you lie to me? Have you been surfing this whole time with Alicia? Well, I hope she's in as much trouble as..." There was a knock at the door. Duncan jumped up to answer the door, and as he opened it, Lexi saw Alicia and Tom on the step. Alicia hung her head. Tom had his hand on her shoulder. "Come in, Tom," Duncan offered, and they both stepped into the apartment. "Alicia has come to apologise, and so have I," Tom said. "Tom, it's not your fault," Kate said. "But it sort of is," he said. "Lexi wanted to surf so badly, and she has a real flair for it, but said she couldn't have lessons because learning to surf is expensive. She didn't want to trouble you. So I said Alicia could teach her and it would be her little secret." He patted his daughter's shoulder. "I didn't know they'd carried on after you told her not to. I'm sorry." "Tom, it's okay. Duncan began. "I'm sorry too. I wanted Lexi to surf with me," Alicia mumbled. She's my best friend." Lexi looked up shyly and smiled, then looked pleadingly at her mother. Kate ran her fingers through her hair and took a deep breath. "Thanks for that, Alicia," she said. "But Lexi," she turned to her, "there've been so many lies. So many times we thought you were safe, but you were in the sea. It's dangerous. Didn't you know there are sharks around here?" Lexi pulled a face and almost nodded. She had seen one, she was sure, and her mother read her face. "Have you seen a shark in the water?" Lexi nodded. Her mother shook her head. "I'm sorry, Lexi, no more surfing. You are too young and it is too dangerous." "Lexi can be safe if she joins the life-saving club. They teach them all about the dangers there," Tom offered, but Kate shook her head. "No, I'm sorry, no more." Lexi turned and left the room. Before, she would have screamed, "It's not fair!" at her mother and cried crocodile tears. But this was different. This was much, much more important than anything else she'd ever wanted to do. But Lexi didn't want to lie anymore. And her mum did have a point. And besides, she still had one thing. Alicia had called her her best friend.